Hello Year 10, I'm Miss Nevin and I am going to be taking your next 3 1-hour lessons. So if I'm not normally your teacher, you are in the right place. I'm just doing the next 3-hour lessons with you. Obviously, if you've got double lessons, then you're going to need to do 2 of these lessons in the same slot. If you've only got single lesson timetabled, then you just need to do the individual ones. So this is lesson 1 and you've only got 1 hour. And you are going to be painting with tea or coffee. So by the end of the lesson, you need to have at the top of your page 3 patch tests using either the tea or the coffee and water, and you need to mix them together to create a light tone, a medium tone, and a dark tone. And then using what you've learned, so using light tones, medium tones, and dark tones, you need to please paint a tonal picture of a tea or a coffee cup. So here are some examples that I found from the internet of people painting with coffee, and all of them use a wide variety of tones. So they use really dark tones and really, really light tones. And I quite like the one on the right at the top because they've also thought about the background and used different techniques. So I'm going to do a demonstration for you now, first of drawing the coffee cup and then second doing the tea cup. First, you're going to need to draw your coffee cup with a pencil really, really lightly. Do it into your book, straight into your book, as using coffee is actually kind of like using watercolour. So I'm just going to draw this cup that I've got in front of me right here. I'm looking at the ellipses, so that's the curved circular part. It's also sometimes quite helpful just to draw a line where the absolute middle of the cup is, and then it's easier to see if it's symmetrical on both sides. Okay. Another thing with ellipses is the bit that's further away from you doesn't seem as curved as the bit that is close to you. So this bit will be actually quite far down on my picture. And also I'm actually above the computer, so I'm actually seeing it from a higher angle. If you go really gently, you can kind of use these like scratchy marks to help you draw the cup. Okay, and so the ellipse at the bottom, the bit that's in the middle of the cup is going to be the closest to me, so that's going to look the furthest down in the picture. Now that you've got that drawn out, you just need to rub it out just so that you can see it, but when the picture is finished, whoever's looking at it won't be able to see the marks that you've made. Now that you've got that drawn, you just need to collect your stuff. So you need some instant coffee, something like that. You can use ground coffee if you like, but it will just be a bit more grainy. In which case you just need to let it dry, and then you can like brush off the grains at the end. You also need a cup of hot water, a plate, and some paintbrushes. So what we're going to do is we're going to make our 3 tones first. So you need to make 3 piles of instant coffee. One with quite a bit of coffee, so that's quite strong. One with a bit less coffee, so it's not quite as strong. and then one with hardly any coffee, so that it's really, really not strong. Change these piles just a little bit. Okay, the next thing that you need to do is get a brush, and you're going to start with the lightest one so that your brush doesn't get contaminated and go really dark. And you're just going to use the water to dissolve the coffee, add a bit more, and then you've got your first tone, so that's the lightest tone. And you're just going to do a little patch at the top to show you that light tone. It is literally just like using watercolour paint. Then you've got the mid-tone, which is a bit stronger, so you might not want too much water on there. Okay, and I'm just going to paint my second patch for that one. And then finally I'm going to do my darkest tone. Now we're going to paint the actual picture, so you need to start with the lightest tones so that you can cover the most kind of ground with them. So I've got my lightest tone that I'm going to reuse. I've just used a bit more water to make it even lighter still, and I'm actually going to start with a kind of background, and that's almost like the colour of the table that it's on. So I've now actually run out of coffee on that bit, but I can just steal some from another place and make up that light tone again. Okay, I now want to use the medium tone. So I've got that medium tone, and I'm just going to bring it down so that I can do the kind of the next lightest tone for me. Now I want a slightly darker tone, so I'm going to go again for that medium one to do the front of the cup. So I'm looking at the reflections as well as the shadows. And you can always add more water to kind of blend it out if that's what you need to do. And I'm going to add a bit of a kind of reflection in here as well. Okay. Don't forget the handle, of course. And you just need to keep going up and up the tones, starting with the lightest and finishing with the darkest. Also, if you do a shadow, it kind of gives it something to sit on, which is quite nice. That can work quite well. But yeah, just go for it. If you want to do some really dark details at the end, make sure that the coffee has dried before you try and do anything too intricate. if you're doing the teacup, this one is actually a lot harder because with tea you can't actually get as dark tones as you can with coffee. So instead of using a plate, what we're going to do is just empty a tea bag into a cup and make sure that you use boiling water and let it just sit for a little while so that it's as dark as it can possibly be. So we're going to do the opposite of what you would have done if it was coffee, and you're actually going to do the darkest tones first. So get that as strong as you can. Don't worry that you're getting all the bits on your brush. That's absolutely fine, because when the whole picture is dry at the end, you can just brush it off. So, darkest tones first. And then you're going to build up from there. So you've gone dark, really, really dark. Now you need to go a tiny bit lighter. So you're just going to add some water. So I've got a cup of boiling water here as well. Also, don't leave your brush in the boiling water because the glue that holds the bristles in will deteriorate, and then your brush will fall apart if it's left in the boiling water. So just get a bit of water on there, and then you can kind of blend it outwards and get some more mid-tones going on. And I'm thinking about which parts need to be really light, because we can't add light on at the end, you just have to leave it. I'm going to go for a smaller brush actually, because I think that will work better for me right now. So I'm just blending out. Now there's some bits that you might even want to keep completely white, and that's okay, you can do that, absolutely. Just think about how you're best going to make it look 3D with the tones that you have, because there's not a huge variation in tone. So that is my darkest colour, and it's not actually that dark, especially compared to the coffee picture. So absolutely, if you want to use white quite a lot, use it. Okay. Okay, so a mistake that I've just made is that I haven't let this dry before I've done the shadow, and it's meant that I've got a tiny bit of this really dark colour where I wanted it to be light right at the bottom here, and it's actually now just bled into it. So maybe if you get a piece of tissue or something, you can dab that so that it becomes clear again before it dries. Yeah, I would recommend waiting for that to dry before you go for the shadow. I'm just going to have a go at making a kind of like ring stain that I'm going to also put on my picture, just because I think it will look quite cool. So I've got the darkest tea I can. I'm literally just painting it onto the bottom of the teacup. I'm doing quite a lot just so that it transfers over. And then if I go to my picture, probably want it about, I don't know, there. Cool, and it's done. In fact, I might even do another one there. Cool. And then of course you can also do kind of splatters or anything that you can think of that you might want to also add to your picture. Whatever you want to do. My picture's dry now, so just using my hand I can rub off any of the like grainy bits of tea that are still on, and that will work if you used ground coffee as well. So it now looks quite nice and smooth. Remember to upload your work to ClassCharts please as a photograph, and also if you've got any questions you can email any of your teachers. Goodbye!